Jade, we are here today with a name that transcends the American spirit, an exceptional American name. You know those names that kind of are embedded in the actual fabric of America, just subconsciously American.
Yep.
I'm talking about Ben and Jerry,
Whoa.
Papa John, Calvin Klein.
Wait, what?
We have a name like that on our podcast right now. He's sitting right here with us, and we're going to talk to him
No kidding.
on this episode. So we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, with the one, the only, Jimmy John.
Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Thanks for taking your lunch break with us. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate your time. So we want to start off with kind of a bucket list item. If Steve Jobs was still alive, I think it would be really fun to iMessage on the iPhone with Steve Jobs. If the Burger King was here,
Right.
or Ronald McDonald, wouldn't it be fun to have a Big Mac or a Whopper with them?
That'd be insane.
Because
Alex.
one day in the future when we have kids, I want to be able to look them in the eyes and say, you know what? I had a Jimmy John sub with Jimmy John himself.
Oh, geez.
So shall we pop open a couple
dive in.
subs here?
Alex,
Say cheers.
Let's do it. Cheers.
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 Here's to you.
So, Alex, what is your order anyway?
So I always get the turkey tom. Last week alone, guess how many times I
You
had?
cheap ass! You bought the little mini for $2. You
Jimmy.
bring me in here for a podcast for an hour. You don't pay me shit, and you buy me the skinny cheapo.
Look, Jimmy, I didn't think you'd want a whole sub. You've been running the biz for how long? How is she? I could eat in there.
As
You
good
guys-
as always.
You guys are rushing. What the heck?
Get in there, Jay. Last week alone, I went to Jimmy John's 4 times for lunch.
You madman.
4 times. Everyone I work with, they make fun of me. They make fun of me for how many times I go. But it's always so good.
Well,
Wow.
what are they going to say now?
Well, I'll tell
So
you,
good.
Too good.
that damn sandwich is so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. The bread is so good,
Freaking love
and
the
it's
bread.
so fresh.
Doesn't get old.
Well done, Jimmy.
You know what? It does get old though. It's just like anything. When you eat too much of it, you get
True.
tired of it. But when you come back to it, it's like, wow, it's so good. And then you smash it like you did last week for 4 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then you get tired of it, but you come in and out. But I haven't had a Jimmy John's in a long time, and that is a damn good Jimmy John's sandwich.
How long?
So whatever store that came from, that was great.
Heck
Oh
yeah.
gosh, I think you know what? I had it on an airplane in December.
Okay.
I had an airplane ride in December. Yeah, we were flying somewhere, and the plane catered it with Jimmy John's.
Wow.
So it was, I think December.
Amazing. Amazing.
Hey, first Jimmy of the new year.
100%.
That's iconic.
100%.
First Jimmy of the new year.
Love it.
So well, I'm glad you love it so much.
We really do. So we want to kind of go back
Yeah,
as we start off here to childhood.
yeah.
What was school like for you? Were you an ace in the classroom? Were you a troublemaker, class clown? What was your vibe in
No,
middle
I
school,
was
high school?
valedictorian. I was top notch valedictorian. I was a quarterback of the football team. I was
Boom.
president of the student council.
Yep.
I was I did pole vaulting and pole jumping. I did yeah, it was a real sporto. So but it's pretty well known that my as a matter of fact, I was just asked to be on a board of a big board of a dyslexic I think the largest organization in America on dyslexia but I'm a dyslexic, and so school for me was a super challenge because when you're bright and you can't read, well, I could read, but I couldn't comprehend. And so what happened was the teachers get so pissed off because because in any situation I could hang and I could do, or I could read a room, or I could do what I had to do. But when it came time to reading and absorbing a lesson and then being tested on it, it actually got the teachers they thought Jimmy's not applying himself. If Jimmy would just pay more attention, da 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 da. It's like telling an alcoholic, oh, if you'll just drink less. It is what it is.
Right.
And so it was a real tough one because even at a young age, I think I was above average bright, and just socially or just in general. And I think that when you're an adult peer and you have a youngin who has some smarts, I think, and then also if they gave me a little bit of shit, okay, I gave it right back to them.
You.
And typically, mine was stung a little more, and so so it was hard. It was uncomfortable because I didn't mean to be a troublemaker, but I wasn't dumb.
Right.
And apply myself, but and then on the other hand, in math, I'm a whiz. I can do math in my head really, really well and really quickly. And then what they didn't like about the math is I didn't have to show the work on a long division problem. I could do the whole division problem in my head and just write down the answer without showing all the long how I got there. So it was a very interesting time of my life and challenge, and but I graduated second to last in my class. I met a guy when I was a freshman at Elgin Academy. His name was Jim Lyons, and they actually wanted to throw me out of the school, and he was the disciplinary dean. And so Jim said, if you're going to throw Jimmy out, I'm leaving.
Wow.
And they said, yeah, real wow. And Jim and I are close today. As a matter of fact, my 60th birthday is this Saturday, and
happy early birthday.
He's gonna thank you very much. He's going to be with me in Phoenix at my birthday party, and my disciplinary dean. So we've stayed close our whole life. But he's the guy that kept me in school, and he got me through. And he did tell me that I needed to chill a little bit, and because I guess I was a little bit of a troublemaker.
What was the most trouble that you got into? Like, do you have one that you look back on and go, what was I thinking?
Well, I sold weed in high school.
No way.
So, and not a lot, right? Like a little bit of weed in high school. And so, maybe, and now weed is like bread, or like, you want a big deal weed, right? So, but I sold weed in high school, so I sold weed. So that was the worst thing that I did. I never got caught selling weed. I think people knew. But I didn't do a lot of it. But I didn't really, senior skip day. I planned it. I organized it. I got the kegs. I found the location. It was an old quarry. So we all skipped school. We had kegs of beer. We all went out there. We swam. We drank the kegs of beer. And we needed four-wheel drive trucks to get into this quarry. So I organized the kids that had four-wheel drive trucks because I didn't have a Jeep or a four-wheel drive truck. And we got everybody there and got the kegs there, and we got the drink, and we partied all day. And there was a hill, and somebody was on the top of the hill, and we'd run down the hill and jump into the quarry. And somebody's on the top of the hill and said, hey, there's a police car coming way down there, and he's stuck. So somehow, some way, the police found it. I said, okay, I guess it's 4 o'clock. I said, we've had a day. Let's pack it up and rip. So we packed up all of our stuff, and we got out of there. And luckily, the police car got stuck, and we never got in trouble for that. But back in the day when I was a kid, and I was raised in northwest suburbs of Illinois, in Cary, Illinois, I had a very close relationship with Officer Keys. And so when we did stuff wrong, or if there was stuff going on that he didn't want, he would come and see me and say, this is going on over here. I want you to tell the kids to cut it out. And so I would always go say, hey guys, they're onto us. So we got to cut it out. So Officer Keys would count it. And then if you drank too much, Officer Keys would take the keys to your car and give us a ride home.
No way.
It was old school. You got to remember, I'm 60. You guys are 20. Okay, I'm an old guy here. But Officer Keys was a wonderful community cop, and we really had a community where we didn't vandalize. We didn't have vandalism. We didn't. we just had fun, you know. We had kid fun. We threw stones and skipped rocks and rode mini bikes and smoked pot and drank beer, and we did what kids do, but we did it in without iPhones, and so everybody looked different because we didn't have Instagram to show us all how everybody looks the same, and now everybody looks the same because everybody looks like Insta. So it was old America. It was Americana. It was a beautiful upbringing in Cary, Illinois. We had a butcher shop. We had a bakery. We had the Cary supermarket where we shopped, and we had it was really old school America. It was beautiful. It was old school Americana, and
I wish I grew up with Jimmy.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
So fun. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You were obviously struggling with dyslexia.
Yeah.
People weren't respecting you. They didn't know where you were at. Were you thinking at all like what you wanted to do in the future? Was there any moment, or you were like, I can't perform in school. What am I going to do for work?
No, that's a great question. So it's not that they weren't respecting me.
Okay.
I didn't deserve to be respected. They weren't disrespecting me. Mm-hmm. Okay? I didn't deserve to be, I was a shithead. Okay? So I got what I deserved. Okay? Because if you respect yourself and you act respectfully, anybody will respect you. Whether you're on the street, in the hood, if you respect yourself, the hood will respect you. It's about self-respect. So I just want to make that straight. So, but I did think about what I was going to do, but not a lot. And which is going to lead us into the story of really the early days of Jimmy John's. And it was March of 82, and I was graduating from school in 82. And my dad said to me, you really need to figure out what you're going to do with your life. And, you've always talked about having a hot dog cart, a little hot dog stand, like a little hot dog and tamale, like Dick Portillo from Portillo started out. And, you've always wanted to do that. And he said, but I'd really like you to go to the Army. And so my dad went to the Army. And my dad was the first Liautaud, which is my last name, which came from New Orleans, and it's French Creole. And anyway, it came from New Orleans. And my dad's side of the family was my grandfather was born in New Orleans, had 4 brothers. There was 5 boys total. My grandfather was born in 1903, and my great-grandfather was what was called an octoroon, or a mulatto. He was half black, my great-grandfather.
Whoa.
And so my great-grandfather brought my grandfather and his 4 brothers to Chicago in 1910 to break the color line. So they had skin color like me, and we have similar colored skin. And they combed their hair straight, and they changed their birth certificates, and they passed off as white. And so that's where my dad's side of the family came from. And my mother's a Lithuanian immigrant that came from Lithuania when Russia invaded Lithuania. World War II. So what a mix. So
seriously,
my father was the first Liautaud to get an education. He got the education because he went to the Army, and the Army gave him a GI Bill, and that's how he was able to get his education. So my dad wanted me to go to the Army.
Yep.
So I said, look, I'm not going to the Army. I'm not a fighter. I don't like to fight. When I get in fights, I get beat up. I don't know how to fight. I'm not. My older brother Greg, fighter. My younger brother Robbie, fighter. My sister Laura, fighter. Jimmy, don't even know what I'm doing.
Were you getting in fights in school?
No, but because once I did, and I get beat up. I mean, I avoided them at all costs, and my jokes are better than theirs, so I maneuvered out of them. So anyway, but I didn't want to go to the Army, and my dad said, "Look, I'll lend you $25,000 to open up this hot dog stand, and if it makes it, I'll own 48%, you'll own 52%. If it fails, you go to the Army for 2 years, you don't pay me back." And that was really it. Graduated from high school, I went and visited hot dog stands all around Cary and Crystal Lake and all my suburbs where I was raised in. And in a week, I had my list of equipment, my menu, and I figured out how to price the equipment, and it was used, and it was in Chicago in the West Loop. where the used restaurant equipment houses were, and it was $43,000. So way more money than I had. Too much money. And I went and saw my dad, and I said, look, I need more bucks. And he said, no deal. So he said, it's 25 grand. Randomly, and I've told this story 3 or 4 times on different podcasts, but this is what happened. I was at Southern Illinois University at the end of June of '82, after my hot dog research, after the price of the equipment, aha moment. And I just, after the bars, I bumped into this little sandwich shop that right on the main drag at Southern Illinois University called Booby Sandwiches. And it had a meat slicer and a refrigerator and a cash register. And the refrigerator had soda, it had beer, it had meats, it had vegetables, it had condiments, and they made the sandwiches on a little make table, and they had the bread in a bag, and you got a sandwich and a beer or a sandwich and a Coke. And I just went from fryer, steam table, milkshake machine, ice makers, flat top grills, steamers, grillers, to no equipment. And so for me, it was a hell of an aha moment. I said, you know what, I can do sandwiches so much simpler than what I just came from, so I think I'm going the sandwich business. So I switched to sandwiches. Subway wasn't baking in the stores yet. I came home from Southern. I went back home. I expanded my circle of looking at sandwich shops, and I found a sandwich shop in Milwaukee called Cousins Subs.
I've been there.
Have you been to Cousins?
I used to live in Madison.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, used to have Cousins all the time.
Cousins had great bread.
It's good.
Really good.
Cousins is good.
So I'd never had homemade bread before in a sandwich shop, and I ate the Cousins bread, and I said, wow, I got to make Cousins bread.
I love it.
So I figured out how to make bread, and so I graduated in June. In July, I was baking bread. In August of '82, I came up with 6 sandwiches I liked. I invited my family over. They voted on 4 of them.
Which were the 4?
The original was the Pepe, the ham and cheese, the tuna, the Italian, and the turkey.
Okay.
And you know, this is completely politically incorrect, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's truth. I originally named the tuna sandwich the Larissa, which is my sister Lara. That's her name.
Okay.
She was like 12 when I opened Jimmy John's. When she turned 16, 17, and she wanted to come visit her brother at Eastern Illinois University and party, she comes out. She said, "Jimmy, you can't name the tuna sandwich after me. You can't do that. So can you change the name?" So I changed the name to Sorry Charlie, and I was using Star-Kissed tuna, right?
Okay.
And so I used Star-Kissed tuna forever, and then I switched tuna to Chicken of the Sea, and the Star-Kissed tuna called me and said, "You can't say Sorry Charlie anymore." So I said,
What?
"All right, what am I going to do?" And it was actually my attorney, Dean Papadakis, came up with the name Totally Tuna. And that was Dean's idea to have it be called Totally Tuna. So funny story about that name. Now here's the story about the turkey, which is so, I mean, this is awful. My 2 cousins were at Eastern Illinois University where I opened. That's why I went there, because they were there. My brother Greg was coming out of the Army, and he was going to go to Eastern. I went to Eastern. Family was going to be at Eastern. That's how I chose Eastern. For no other reason except that I'd be by family. So my cousins Steve and Mike were at Eastern, so I named the Turkey Tom the S&M after my cousins Steve and Mike, who are Delta Chi's here at EIU, which I wrote it all out on the menu. So it was the S&M, right? Really cute S&M, right? Like, boy, yeah, you're really funny. So anyway, well, you know, S&M ended up being a little risque. You know, that was pushing the envelope a little bit. So then I changed the name of the turkey sandwich to the Uncle Tom.
Oh boy.
So then I was the Uncle Tom for like 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden that was this word Uncle Tom that I never knew what it was.
Oh, you're towing
and
the
then
line.
And then it became, you know, oh shit, you know. So then
You're wild.
So then we changed it then I changed it to Turkey Tom. So, but those were the original 4, and
Those are incredible stories. They
It's
really
so
are.
good.
it's
so
all
good.
real.
I love
It's
it.
how it happened. Better story is the bread dough. So I'm mixing bread dough in my mom's kitchen. And I'm mixing bread dough, and I'm going back and forth to the grocery store. And one day I'm going past the freezer section, and I pick up I see a clear plastic bag with 4 frozen loaves of dough in this clear plastic bag. So I grab one and I throw it in the cart. I go home, and I take one of these doughs out of the bag. I thaw it out. I cut it in quarters. I stretch it out. I bake it in the oven. and the bread was better than my bread by 5x. It was so good. This bread that I just picked up in the frozen dough section. So I looked over, I looked on the bed, and it said Rich's Frozen Products, Poughkeepsie, New York. Well, junior and senior year, I struggled in high school. I did the work program as well, so I worked every day from noon to 5.
Oh, sweet.
And then I worked Saturdays from 8 to 12.
Okay.
And I worked in a consumer electronics company that made CB antennas and radar detectors. And so I would take customer service phone calls. I would take the call, and after a while, they were repeat problems, and I knew how to help people fix the issue over the phone. But during that journey, I have I told you I'm dyslexic, and I'm a little bit spectrum as well. But my memory with numbers is crazy. So I know every area code in the country. So at the time, the area code in New York was 212. And we didn't have Google. So we had to dial on a rotary. These are telephones. These are these things that we had that were attached to the wall, and they had bells when they rung on them. So I dialed 212-555-1212 directory assistance for New York.
And you remember that number?
Yeah, the directory assistance in the whole country was 555-1212. You just put the area code before it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
So yeah, it's a boomer thing. Don't worry about it, audience. You'll
Calm down.
Sorry.
We'll get you. So I call and I say, give me the number of Rich's Frozen Products in Poughkeepsie, New York. She gives me the number. So I call the number, and the lady says, Rich's Frozen Products. And I said, can I speak to Mr. Rich? She says, one moment, please.
Whoa.
No way.
Yes. He says, this is Bob Rich. He said, what can I do for you? I said, my name is Jimmy John, and I'm opening a sandwich shop, and I just bought your bread dough at the grocery store in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and I want to use your bread dough in my sandwich shop at Eastern Illinois. And he said, what'd you say, ma'am? And I said, my voice is, I'm a little.
I love your voice, by the way.
My voice is a little
It's
distinct,
legendary.
right?
It is.
So I'm like, no, what's it? I just went with it. So he said, want to use my bread dough in a sandwich shop? I said, yeah. He said, give me your phone number. Let me call you back. He says, I got a friend of mine that's opening a dough factory in Illinois right now, and he's baking bread, and he's in the middle of construction. Let me call my friend Lou Ganella. So I said, okay, here's my number. So I gave him my phone number. He calls me back 2 minutes later. He says, what are you doing tomorrow morning at 9:30? I said, yeah, let me check my schedule. He said, happens to be open. What's up? He says, you go down to Wiley Road in Schaumburg, Illinois. Here's the address. And you go meet my friend Lou Ganella, and it's under construction. He said, but they got a small little factory. They're building a bigger one. Go see him, and he's going to have a whole bunch of bread for you. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you'll be there, right? I said, I'll be there. So I get in my car. I went to the factory. It was under construction. I walk in the door, and there's a yellow hard hat on with my name, Jimmy John, on it.
Sick.
And another hard hat with the name Lou. I think his name was Lou Ganella. Lou on it. So I showed up there. She says, we've been expecting you. The receptionist lady. It was the room was half the size of the room we're in right now, the reception area. And he comes out to greet me. And how are you? How are you? Good to see you. And he takes me into this room where he's got, from the way my memory is now, guys, probably 25 different bread doughs.
Wow.
He says, he says, start eating these doughs. So I'm eating bread. I said, I really like this bread right here. This bread is
The
phenomenal.
same one as today.
I've tweaked it a whole
Okay.
lot since then. I used to put the yoga mat stuff in it that Subway got busted for.
Ooh.
Once they got busted, it really made it really nice and chewy.
Wait, what is this? Yoga mat?
What
is this?
You don't remember this? You probably weren't even born.
What
Remember,
year
I'm
was
doing
this?
this. This is Jimmy John's almost 40 years old now.
Yeah.
So, but there was this ingredient that I didn't know, but it was an additive that made the dough really nice and chewy.
Oh, like a yoga mat.
Like a yoga
Like you
mat.
could do yoga
I'm
on
thinking
it.
yoga mat is like in this bread right now.
No. But so then all of a sudden when natural got cool,
Right.
Then it came out. Subway had a big headline that Subway has the material they make yoga mats out of in their bread dough. So we had the same stuff in our bread dough. So we had to pull, and we pulled it all out. And I'm pretty sure now that it's pretty much all natural. But anyway, the story goes. Here's two old guys playing with a kid. Bob Rich's Frozen. They make the creamer. It's this giant frozen products company. Who would have thought that he picked up the phone,
Right.
This isn't Bob Rich. The lady didn't ask, what is this all about? Like
Right.
pre-qualifying me. There's nothing worse
Yeah.
than, oh, can I ask what this is all about? I hate that when you call somebody, hey, can I speak to Papa John?
Right.
Who's calling? This Jimmy John. What is this about? I'm like, I just want to talk to Papa.
Who
And
wants
so
to talk to Papa?
I just hate pre-qualifiers.
No,
I
yeah,
get it.
agree.
It drives me crazy when people just check your status to see if you're worthy of something, because we're all worthy of everything.
I love that.
And so I don't dig status checks. I'm not
you.
down with it. I'm not cool with it. I was judged by me my whole entire life being a big guy, and I just don't like it.
Right.
Okay? It ain't cool.
And
right?
it shows, Jimmy, because you are our literal 7th guest ever. We've only released 3 episodes, and you said yes to us. And I just thank you for that.
You know what? You
It's
caught me on a
timeless.
good day. And I happen to be in Nashville because I live in Key Largo, Florida.
Okay.
I live in Key Largo in the winter. So anyway, here I am. So I'm
Here you are.
happy to be here
Thank
and
you,
happy
thank
to
you.
do it.
Thank you.
So anyway, but just to have all that go down and have it happen. And long story short, listen, I opened that store. I went through a whole lot of learning about how to lead and how to become a leader. And employees left me, and one thing led to another. And positive is we did 150,000 in sales the first year. We made 40,000. I split it with my dad, 48-52. And the second year we did 180,000 in sales and made 55. We split it. And so if you did the numbers for that today, I mean, my sandwiches were $2.10.
Wow.
And now they're
Ooh.
$10. So that means the store did like $1 million
Right.
in today's dollars,
That's insane.
Dang.
It's amazing.
Do you think them answering the phone and like not status checking you and giving you the tour of the bread, do you think that was like fate? Do you think it was luck? Do you think it was divine intervention? What do you make that up to?
First of all, I don't know about any of that divine intervention stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that for sure, and anybody that has any talent or skill in any particular arena and is successful with that talent and skill at any given time has a whole shit ton of luck. Okay, but you can be given a bag of flour and a bag of yeast and a bag of water, and the three of us can be given and some salt and maybe a little bit of oil, and we could all be given the same ingredients, exactly the same ingredients, and all three of our breads will come out differently, right? Because we're all different humans. We're all just different. So I think there was a lot of it, and I think that had my father not been so strict on the money. Like, I needed $500 at the end for an ice machine, and he said no.
Really?
No deal. So I sold a little 9-ounce cup of Coke for $0.25 out of a dispenser. It was 25 cents for a Coke, and there was no ice. It was cold, but it was $0.25. So sandwiches were $2.10. The Coke was $0.25. So I think that my father, being as tough as he was, and sticking to his deal, and I think that. What happened to me at Jimmy John's that really, really sparked me was the first time in my life I had something that people accepted me for, that the public just said, this is awesome. I was I opened up with 2 buddies in January. They were both gone by March, and I was alone, me and the sandwich shop. And my customers came in, Jimmy, how you doing? Good to see you. I would have conversations with them. I knew what I honestly, I would profile. And I knew that if they were big like me, that they would like extra mayonnaise because that's why we're big. And if they're little
Profile
like you, you would have gotten hardly any mayonnaise.
But I
you
need
were a
more.
high margin client. I would profile. And I really could size people up and make them what they wanted and make the sandwich for that person. And just my ability to do that, and it was the first thing in my life, because I was a fat kid and I couldn't play sports and I couldn't read and the teachers didn't like me and I was bankrupt. We were bankrupt twice as kids. I was bankrupt in 72 and 76. My dad was, and I tell the story. I mean, we were like down to powdered milk, down to my dad telling us we're going to have to we're going to be leaving the house. The bank's going to take
Yeah.
the house. We're going to move into an apartment. And this is after we just moved into this house. And my mother and my brother Greg and I moved us over a whole summer in a station wagon while my dad worked. And I was in, when you're moving stuff and you're in second grade and you're 3 foot tall, it's a lot to take, 50 station wagon loads. That's a lot for a little kid. And so, I went through a lot. And it was the first, when I had this thing, I got lucky that I could work from 8 in the morning till 2 in the morning, and I loved it. But I didn't love it at first, but I didn't have a choice. So I did it. But then after 2-3 weeks, I'm like, I can do this. I can work from 8 to 2 a.m. and I got the energy to do it. And then I learned how to balance my checkbook, and then I kept the checkbook, and I paid for everything COD. And then I got connected. I watched that bank balance go up. I watched it go down. I became an accountant by default. And then I became a really good accountant. And then I learned how to lead by example. And then I learned that, I was a street kid, right? And the street doesn't lie. The street will make anybody honest. Because if you're dishonest on the street, they'll kill you. Okay? The street is just honest. That's why DC needs to go get their ass kicked on the street and straighten their asses out real quick.
They need
right?
Captain
You do a
Peeves.
bad deal on the street, you're done. You do a good deal on the street, they're like, this is the guy to do business with right here. That's the way it works. They're just in their world up there in DC. But anyway, I forget where I'm going with this, but because they just piss me off so much. They do. They get half of everything that I've ever made, and look what I'm doing with my half, and they've just pissed mine down the toilet. So anyway, but I'm not going to, I apologize for that.
No, let it out. Let it out. This is a venting
yeah.
session.
So anyway, but you asked about, is it divine intervention? I got lucky. I handled it. I did it. I could do accounting. I paid my dad. I bought my dad out in March of '85. I paid him out he wanted the 25 grand and 10% interest, and then he hits me with compound interest. And I'm like, dude.
He sounds like a
what's
good dad.
You know what?
What a businessman.
He was a tough guy, and I don't think I'd be. Had I not been through what I went through as a child and as a young adult and as a middle-aged adult, and I remember in 2014 that I supported Mitt Romney as a presidential guy. I guess I was probably a billionaire right around that time is when I became a billionaire, maybe around 2012, 13, 14, somewhere around there. And I had way more than I could ever use. And with my background, with my dad's story, my mom's story, she came to Ellis Island after, escaping and my grandfather got caught when they escaped, and they got put into a camp, and my grandfather escaped the camp. And not only did he escape the camp, he found my grandma and my mom and sister. They were like 10 and 12, and they made it to Germany. It's just, our family being where we are today in this country is a miracle, and how we survived is a miracle. How my grandpa went to a prison camp in Poland and escaped it. How the hell did he escape a prison camp from a Lithuanian, from Kaunas, Lithuania?
Goodness.
You don't escape. They kill you in those camps.
That's insane,
and so,
Jimmy.
So anyway, I became politically active. I always paid all my tax because we were in the licensing business. So we made royalties. So we had some company stores that made us a few $1 million a year, but the real huge part of our income came from the licensing fees. And so I am a bit of a Pollyanna, and I wanted to help. I wanted other people in America that had a dream that worked as hard as I worked to be able to sit here and do what I did.
Yep.
And do it. And so that's the reason I got involved in politics. No other reason. I never wanted a favor. I never wanted a damn thing. I wanted nothing. I wanted to give back to my country that was so good to me and so good to my family.
Yeah.
And so I got involved in politics and in supporting Mitt Romney, and I got real close to him, and then we lost the election, and I got canceled. I was the first, I was one of the first, I'm like a D- celebrity, the sandwich guy, the pizza guy's probably a B,
Papa.
Yeah, Papa.
Papa.
But I was for sure a D minus. Not even a D.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, because I'm a big hunter, I've hunted all over the world, and so anyway, I got canceled and attacked, and I never knew how dirty the world was. I built Jimmy John's in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the left or right coast. I didn't go there. I stayed in the Midwest vein, from the Dakotas right down through Texas, right down Florida, and I just stayed away from those poorly run cities and states. And I never knew about it. I was really naive. And so anyway, at the end of the day, I'm glad I did what I did. In my journey, I then was a big Trump supporter and was got to know him really, really well, and on a personal, intimate level. And the man, on a one-on-one, is such a gentleman.
Really?
He is kind. He is thoughtful. He has an amazing memory. I had surgery in last June. He called me on my phone in the middle of July and asked me how I'm doing, just to check in. He said, Meredith, my assistant, told me that you had surgery. I'm just checking to see how you're doing.
Wow.
That's incredible.
How's your wife's play doing? My wife's a playwright. She's an award-winning playwright. One of the reasons we're here in Tennessee. And he's such a wonderful man. And anyway, I really don't want to take your podcast and make podcast
No.
left or right. This is my experience.
Yep.
How did you meet Trump? And what was the first time you met him? Were you nervous, or were you just bump into him like at a party or something?
No, I don't bump into people at parties, and it's not a bump into a party kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So I raised a lot of money for Mitt Romney,
okay.
and I have the ability to do that, and so it's a small world, and so it's a small world, and so I met him, and I believed in him before he got elected the first time, and and I just got close to him, and I raised a lot of money for him, and so that's what you do. But typically, what happens in politics is when you raise a lot of money for a politician, there's I drove you to the supermarket last week. You need to drive me to the supermarket this week. I didn't need any of that. There's nothing I want. All I want is for people like you two to have a very successful business and a very successful podcast. And I want you to be able to work very, very, very hard to do that. And I want to play on an equal playing field. Okay? I don't like this where some of the people, it's okay to get away with stuff because you're the son of a powerful person. You can do whatever you want. I don't like this country was built on an equal, fair playing field, okay? And life's not fair. Yeah. Not every wildebeest crosses the river. Even the really smart, good ones will get bit by a crocodile and get ate, So anyway, long story short is here I am talking to you guys and in 2024 in a beautiful restaurant we built in Nashville that with the sun shining in our face and aren't we so lucky?
We are. And we were talking the other night about, it's kind of crazy. You started off just making sandwiches. Yeah. You got in the kitchen one day and you're like, let me figure out bread. Let me add a couple ingredients. And you just started making sandwiches, which is kind of just a small little thing.
Yeah.
But when you really zoom out now, 30, 40 years later, and you look at kind of the impact your company's had on America, you can't really measure it. I mean, we're talking we both remember the first time we went to Jimmy John's.
When was it?
I was in middle school, high school in Chicago on the river, and we just needed some lunch, and we stopped into Jimmy John's, and I've probably been 200 times since.
For sure. But
the employees that you've paid and lifted up and paid for their families and their houses, to just the stories that people can share in the restaurant over a sub.
Yeah.
The impact that you've had on America, when I kind of jokingly at the beginning was talking about American Fabric and Papa John's and Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
It's true though.
It's true.
It really is true. And so to build that up, to really, I mean, you had 100,000 employees, I believe, at one point.
Yeah, I think more.
Even more.
Well, if we had 3,000 stores and you got 40 employees per store.
True.
And that's just on the operating side.
3,000.
120,000, right?
Yeah, so to do all of that and then for them to come after you because of some sort of a political affiliation, for something that you believe in, you care about,
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Yeah, you know it is absurd, but you know what else? You know what's nice about getting older? It's not an evil person coming after me. It's humanness, man. We are all human, and we all have envy, we all have jealousy, we all overindulge, we all covet thy neighbor's whatever we want to covet. We all have car envy, and we're humans. And you know what? If you see somebody as a potential threat, you're just going to be human, and you're going to act humanly. I used to think that they were bad people, but I don't think so. I just think that as human beings, I think that we're what we are. We're designed to subsist and exist utilizing the least amount of energy, right? And then we can, and that helps the species procreate its nature. So there's two ways you can do it. You can come here at the 1230 Club in Nashville, Tennessee, like my son Freddie did for 2 years, and open up the kitchen every morning as the opening chef and stick the key in the door and turn the lights on and fire the grills, and you could work through COVID with masks on, and you could go do that for 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, because people don't show up, and you could do what my son Freddie did, and you could do that. Or you can figure out a way to be somehow affiliated with somebody, and somebody will just, give you some money because you're really pretty, or they'll give you some money to come and show up. And for example, who's that right there on the, is that Carrie Underwood? Let's just call
Lainey Wilson.
Okay, that's Lainey Wilson. You can be Lainey Wilson. Lainey can do what she does and make $100,000 a night being Lainey Wilson, or she can come make $15-20 an hour in the kitchen at 1230 Club. Well, I think Lainey's going to choose to show up and make her $100,000. So I really learned now that I think that humans will take the path of least resistance, and we all are susceptible to it. You, me, okay? We're the same. We have all failed the same. We've tried. Some people, I would say some people maybe try more than others, or some people are more tenacious than others. I would say Tom Brady probably outworked and outsmarted and outstudied a lot of other people, right?
100%.
The guy is something else.
Yep.
And so, I don't really think that it's, I don't think that at the end of the day, I don't think that people just let's just say Republicans and Democrats, there's no evils. We're humans on both sides. We're humans on both sides. Yep. Let's just acknowledge our humanness. Yep. Let's be human. Let's just be like, oh yeah, I was a little jealous of that. Yeah, you got me on that one. And somebody's going to be younger and smarter and richer and more successful. And I'll tell you, I have been lucky enough to meet some of these young stars around here right now, and the 1230 Club opening, Morgan Wallen played the 1230 Club opening, Eric Church played it, and Zach Brown played it. There is no chance in a million years that any of those three guys, because we opened during COVID, right? And it was before Morgan exploded, right? But I mean, there's no way that would happen now today, right? So you asked me if is there some luck involved? You think there's a little luck there? I don't know that was just, we were on lockdown and everybody wanted to play something, do something, right? And we had those guys open up here at the 1230 Club and just did it just just did it, and we partied and had a great opening. But I don't know, that was just luck, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Did COVID suck? Yeah. How was our opening? It was pretty good.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, right now, I know you don't sit as CEO of Jimmy John's anymore. Can you just walk us through how you transitioned out and what that looked like?
Sure. So I sold 28% of Jimmy John's in 2007 to a private equity company. I kept 65% and I gave 7% to my employees. And then in 2016, the 28%ers were taken out, and at that time I owned 65% of it, and I sold 30 points of my 65 points. and I kept 35 points. And my employees got out, and then the 2007 investors got out, and then I kept that money in, and then I worked with that private equity company. I worked with them for a while, and it didn't jive with me because I operated instinctually, and they operated with data. And so if you can imagine, my company at that time was doing about 2.8 billion, I think, in sales.
Goodness.
In addition to that, we had the entire supply chain that we which was a side of the business that most people don't have, but we provided the majority of the product and purchased the commodities, handled logistics and shipping and trucking from the manufacturer to the distribution houses, and so it was quite a complicated company. And I did things like, when I made money, I would buy farm ground. And I started, and so the money that I got in 07, I didn't have any debt when I sold, and I was well over 100 million. I got like 135 million, I think, in 07. So I bought farm ground and gold. And so
Like bars of gold?
Yeah, gold. Because I didn't know how to invest. I was a sandwich guy. I bought farm ground farms. So I started planting corn and soybeans and learning about corn and soybeans, and 80% of Hellmann's mayonnaise is soybean oil. And I'm the largest user of Hellmann's mayonnaise in the world. So I said to Hellmann's mayonnaise, well, can I supply the soybean oil for the Hellmann's mayonnaise? They said, well, you're not going to be able to supply enough of it, but you're welcome to hedge it on the market and buy it on the commodities market, and then we'll lock in the price for the year, and we'll buy these contracts, and we'll have it. Well, what I would do is, a couple weeks before it was time for me to lock in my contracts, is I would walk my bean fields. And I'd open up bean pods, and I'd see if I had a bean pod that was full, big, fat soybeans in there, I knew soybean oil prices were going down. And if I popped open a pod and they were skinny, I knew soybean oil prices were going up. So when you try to work with a private equity company that has, California Retirement Pension Fund, they're like, so how do you know when to secure these commodities? I'm like, come on, jump in my truck with me. We're going to go to my farm. We're going to count soybean pods. Well, what does that mean? How do you know?
Oh my goodness.
So it was so instinctual. But I bought the low of the soybean market 14 years straight. So, I didn't know the word data. I didn't know what that was. And every bill that came in to Jimmy John's today, I paid today. And they said, well, if you can hold this for 30 days, what do you hold it? I said, well, it will clutter your desk. Well, why would you should pay it, And
I love it.
I was so foreign, right? I was such a boomer, so antiquated, right? Completely antiquated. I mean, we still answer telephones with humans. Like, every problem that came into my office today, we solved today. Every single issue that came in, whether it was an issue with your sandwich or one of my franchisees had a problem, we took care of it. But that's what you learn on the street. So the business outgrew me.
Gotcha.
So the business outgrew me, and I was done. So what was it like? It was weird because it was theirs. It wasn't mine anymore. I had 35%. It was theirs. So it's weird sharing a wife with somebody. I wouldn't be good at that. So I know that because Jimmy John's was like my baby. So, but they were really kind, wonderful people. And I said, no more for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And so in 2019, we merged Jimmy John's into Inspire Brands, which is Sonic, Arby's, now Dunkin' Donuts, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Jimmy John's. And now it's may just end up being the largest restaurant company, maybe in the world at this point in time. I think last time I think they told me they had 37,000. They call them touch points. Imagine I call them locations. They call them touch points. Imagine that. So anyway, and they're growing like crazy, and I know that they're bringing Jimmy John's to India, and they were
sweet.
They're doing all kinds of they're blowing it up, and so for me. God, what's it like? It was a really difficult transition. Happiness is really hard work.
I love that.
It is. To be honest with you, I blew my brains out. I built a big boat, went around the world, and went to all the parties around the world, and did, south of France for 5 years, and went up to the Hamptons on the boat, and just it really. I did what I thought I was
Yeah.
supposed to be doing, but I was really off, and
Yeah.
it wasn't working for me. Okay, and I found this chick in Nashville. This woman, a brilliant coach, and I hired her 4 years ago. And she said, "Why do you want to work with me?" I said, "I've done everything in the world that I wanted to do. I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish, and I'm miserable.
Dang.
And I need some help. And I don't want to be miserable because I got this, and I have that, and I have this, and I have that, and I have all the material goods in the world, and I'm miserable." And so I started working with a coach, and then it's because they don't teach you this in school. They don't teach you how to transition from building a company for 35 years into a happy, healthy
Right.
next stage of your life class at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then who's going to teach that class? And they're going to be out on their boat in South France. So anyway, I just, it took me a while to transition, and I think that was probably the toughest question that you asked me, Jade, because it was a really, really hard transition, because I thought once you got X, you'll just be happy. When I have this Ferrari, and I have this jet, and I have this boat, and I have this house in Aspen, and I have this apartment, and I have this thing, then all of a sudden, like government says, just give us more money and then everything will be better. Just give people more money and they'll be happier. And there's nothing more opposite than the truth, happiness is hard work, and I work really hard every single day to simplify, to check in with myself about and it's just not super serious, but it's real. If I go to an event, to me, it's got to be a 10 out of 10. If I'm hanging with people, for me, they got to be a 10 out of 10. Now, look, we all have a different idea of what a 10 out of 10 is, right? So, in other words, it's really got to be great, for me to do it. And if not, I need to take the time to focus on my family, my health, my fitness, and my well-being, and that has really become my priority. So my priority went from being very, very selfish and self-indulgent to completely the opposite. And my core happiness has come from the opposite, from doing what I say, looking after my wife, looking after my kids, taking care of my extended family to the best of my ability, and being a steward of what I have, and then trying to feel good about what's going to happen to it when I'm gone. And it's a big job. It's a big job. It's not that it's a big job, but it's overwhelming because it grows exponentially. It's called compound interest, and it grows exponentially. Families grow exponentially. And typically what happens is 3 generations out, they hate the founder. So we're conservative, job-creating, tax-paying, first-generation wealth creators. And by the time it gets to the 3rd generation and they haven't met the founder and they don't know the founder, but they just have this dough, this cash, what happens is it's a human thing, in order to justify the cash, to hate the creator, because he stole it from the middle class. I took advantage of minimum wage people to get this money. Therefore, I don't like the founder, but I'm going to go ahead and keep the trust fund. It's that I'm going to keep, but boy, I don't like the guy that did it. But I'm going to. It's a justification thing. Again, humanness.
Yep.
Understanding humans and human behavior, and so it's for me to think. It's hard to think down the line about how they're going to do what they're going to do with what they're going to do with what they're going to get. It's a challenge, but I embrace it, and I'm humbled by it, and I just deep down inside, I just want to make good decisions. I want to do the right thing. I want to be forgiven for my mistakes, and I want to just and I would love to have the recipients of what I've created not have that largesse be the reason they fail, and I also don't want it to be the reason that they succeed. I want them to be the reason they fail, and
Yep.
I want them to be the reason they succeed. So imagine threading that needle.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a needle
Yeah.
to thread, because I want them to have what I had, which is when I created my own shit, clean it up,
Yeah.
clean the shit
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And when I create my own success, it's okay.
Yeah.
Celebrate
Yeah.
it. So it's been an interesting transition, and yeah, and I think that right here at this moment, I'm living it with you right now.
Good.
Yeah.
And that sandwich was really damn good.
It really was.
Mind if I take another bite?
Please
Please
do.
do.
It was really good.
I
Jimmy
know,
John
right?
asking us permission to eat a Jimmy
What's going
John's.
on? What's in the air today?
Something. So I think it's fascinating that you finished second to last in your high school class. You didn't get a college diploma. You're dyslexic. You know, you could. You're kind of. I wouldn't say like you're not like a Harvard genius. You know what I mean? You're not a Harvard genius, but
Far
yet.
from it.
But you use throughout growing Jimmy John's and even now in your personal life, common sense to separate yourself. For example, going out into your fields and checking the beans.
Right.
That's common sense. It's genius, but in a common sense way. And now even in your personal life, how do you find happiness? You simplify it down to, family, friends, all that kind of good stuff. Even with your subs, you kept it simple. You kept it common sense.
Yeah.
So what is, for people out there,
Yeah.
if you could simplify down, if you could, a couple key ingredients like on a sub for true happiness and meaning, if you could simplify it in a common sense way, like you kind of did with your empire, because I think that's kind of your secret gift. What would you advise people on are those kind of common sense ingredients to happiness?
Well, well, first of all, I think for sure, I think two things. First of all, common sense on success, common sense on happiness. You really have to have your finances you have to have your ducks in a row. Live below your means, way below your means. Throw your credit cards in the garbage. Pay cash. I know you love Venmo. I know you do it, but cash is real. Like when you have cash in your pocket and then you're out of cash, stop drinking and stop spending. You're out of money. So I think the first thing, you've got to have your finances. If you can afford a $300,000 house, buy a $200,000 house. If you can afford to pay $6,000 for a used car, or you want to take and pay cash, or take $6,000 and put it down and buy a $42,000 car and make payments, buy the $6,000 car. Take that money and put it in the bank and invest it. Just buy the S&P 500 or buy the NASDAQ. Just buy the NASDAQ and just let it ride. Don't sell it. Just hold on to it. And long term, over time, that the financial security is number one. You got to have financial security. Being physical, I've learned after being heavy my whole life that if I don't work out every single day, I'm miserable. But you got to be financially fit. You've got to be physically fit. You got to have presence of discipline in your life. You got to have something to hope for and something to dream about, something to look forward to, and then you got to have really, really great friends and people around you that you love and that champion you and that don't take away from you. That's what I think. That's for me.
Yep.
And we all have a different definition of spicy. Right?
Yeah.
I'll make you my spicy tacos, and you'll say, you know what? I can't even taste the pepper in these tacos. So we both said the word spicy, and I think they're my spicy
Right.
tacos. So we all have a different definition of what it is. And then as far as success goes, if you're going to be successful, it's really easy. Know what you're doing, know what the numbers are, and outwork every single person in the category. Period. And look what Tom Brady did. He outworked everybody. The guy hasn't had a piece of bread in 40 years. He hasn't had a Coke. He hasn't had an In-N-Out burger. He hasn't had a milkshake or Jenny's ice cream. How good is Jenny's ice cream?
The best.
The best.
Gosh.
But I mean, this dude, look at what he did. He's a little extreme. I think Amazon got lucky with minimum wage blowing up to $15 an hour and managers needing to make $52,000 a year, and then all of a sudden COVID comes. And all these small businesses in America can't afford the salaries and can't afford the minimum wage, and in comes Bezos with the blue box trucks, paying no rent. Hey, look at the man, right?
Yeah.
He's got new pecs. He's got new muscles. He's got a new doctor giving him some good juice.
He's ripped.
He's got
Yeah.
a young babe. He's got 10 or 12 boats, and he's in Hollywood, baby.
Yep.
So anyway, thanks Obama on that one. And but you can really. Bezos earned. He's got what he deserved. He's done amazing. I don't mean to
Right.
to disparage him. I respect the hell out of what he's done, but he did get pretty lucky with all that stuff happening. Remember we talked about luck. There was a lot of luck there. I don't think it was. I think it was luck, and I think the China virus did come from China. But anyway. I think really it's really pretty simple, and it's just like when you cook a great meal. I don't know if are you a cook at all?
I like to cook. I do.
The better the ingredients, the better the meal, right?
Yeah.
Nothing better than a hot garden tomato, right from that's still warm from the sun. It still has dust on it. Just slice it, little sea salt on it. Is there any? I mean, then throw a little burrata, a little basil,
A little
You sound
prosciutto
like
maybe.
Papa John right now.
Spice it up.
But it's not hard. But you got to work, and you can't. Googling your way to success is no. You've got to work, and so if you're willing to do the work, it's out there for you. And anybody who's willing to be uncomfortable and be uncomfortable for a long, long time, because I have what I have because I was willing to endure more pain and be more uncomfortable than anybody that I ever knew. I had weekends and nights for 30 years. We put in 20 years, of gym, before the franchising started to work. Imagine a 20-year foundation. You guys are 20.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole lifetime of just a foundation. So, I don't know where I'm going with it, but
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
it is what it is, but we have endured a lot of discomfort to be where we are today, and for me to have the choices that I'm able to make. And I think real wealth is choices and options. I don't think it's in stuff. So you have 10 watches and I have 5 and you've got 15. Well, they all tell time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Growing up, so you shared you didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to know, obviously now, like you said, being a billionaire, I know you have some children.
Yeah.
How did you kind of approach raising them, having money, and did they have to get jobs? What did you kind of instill in them in terms of entrepreneurship or college? Did they have a choice?
That's a great question. So I'm just going to tell you what I did do. There was a woman that wrote a book, and her name was Dr. Lee Hausner, and the book is called Children of Paradise. And she was a resource at I belong to an organization called the Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and I saw her speak at an event before I had children, and so she wrote the book was Raising Children That Have Bucks, and so I hired her when I met Leslie, my wife, at McCormick Place in Chicago, which is a convention center. When I met her, she had a 4-year-old son, and I adopted him. We got married, and we had 2 children in addition to that, so I have 3 children. So I hired Dr. Lee, and she said a couple of things about raising kids, and I kept Lee for 20 years I had her as a coach for us as parents. There's a couple things she taught us. Now, I don't know if this is the right way or the wrong way, and I'm not saying, but let me tell you what she taught us. First thing, when we disagreed or we battled, don't do it in front of the children, remove yourself, okay? Number 2, if the kids asked you, can I sleep over at Johnny's house, and you thought, yes, it's okay, and you thought it wasn't, but I asked you first, can I sleep, and you said no, even if you think it's okay, you support each other as a unified front, and and then you have a sidebar discussion, but you're unified. So that was number 2. Number 3, no chicken finger babies. That means kids that go out to eat and all they eat is noodles with butter on them, or chicken fingers, and that's all they eat. No chicken finger babies. The deal is they don't eat, and she says after 3 days they'll eat whatever's in front of them. No chicken finger babies. They eat everything. Period, and that's it. 0 screens in the car, and 0 screens at meals.
Love that.
Restaurants or out, no screen time. 0. None. When you're in the car together, you are talking, you're playing the ABC game, you're talking, you're having, what was the highlight of your day? So that's what Dr. Liautaud. No chicken finger babies, screen time, zilch during meals, zilch in the cars. You don't just have to have a screen all the time, right?
Yeah.
She taught us no means no, no negotiating. So once you say no, that's it. No means no. She taught us no advanced classes in high school.
Really?
Huh.
All regular classes. So if your kid's an advanced math kid and he's doing really good in math, let him be the star of the class. Don't push him into this other stuff. Let him be the star of the class. And her deal was, here's the deal. She says, your children are genetically predisposed to be whatever they're going to be. With high confidence and high self-esteem, and which they get from boundaries, no means no, unified parents, no chicken finger babies, okay? She said when they have self-esteem and they have good genetics and they're raised with a lot of love and a lot of hugs, they're going to be whatever they're going to have a better chance to succeed way more than if they took advanced AP, whatever, chemistry, whatever it is. I don't know, whatever. But so she said self-esteem is way more important than what you study, and then she said 1 activity per semester. So don't go from dance to hockey to taekwondo to one thing. She said they need to come home. They need to be kids. Let the kids be kids. Let them go out and play. Let them get dirty. Let them get muddy. But 1 activity. And she says no traveling sports. She said, let kids be kids. This traveling sports, you're doing it for you. You're either having an affair with somebody else on the team. That was her joke. She says, but you're doing that for you because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're not doing it for them because it's the best thing for the kids is just to stay home. And so, we follow Dr. Lee's game. And also, if my kids put money in the bank, so if they got, and did they do chores? Absolutely. Dishes, garbage, pick up dog poop, absolutely they did that, pick up their rooms. But if they got allowance, if they put money in the bank, we matched it. So at Christmas, if they got, $100 from Grandma and Grandpa, and they went to the bank, we'd take them to the bank, and then I would match it.
Oh,
So they get to put $200 in the bank. Okay. Right?
That's great.
And then they really, 2 of the 3 figured that one out really good and everything went in the bank. One liked to have a wad in his pocket. That's my son Freddie, who was the chef here at the 1230
Oh, my
Club for the
goodness.
first couple years of opening here. And anyway, he's the one that liked to have the wad of cash in his pocket. He didn't care about the match. He felt he liked having the wad. I don't know where he got that from.
No.
But so that's how we raise the kids. And if you met my kids, my kids are they are so average and so normal as far as my perspective. If you went on their social media yourself, you tell me, you would never know in a million years that they were related to Jimmy John or Jimmy John's. You would never know that they had a fancy lifestyle. You wouldn't see it. It's not present. It's not important to them. I bought them cars when they were 16. They're all driving the same damn cars. Cool. I'm like, can I get you a damn car? And finally the other day, Lucy's 25. She's a dorm mother at a boarding school here in Franklin, and her car is 9 years old. And I said, Lucy, I'm buying you a car, and I did. I went and bought her a car because she just, they don't care about stuff, and I was so stuff oriented, this and that and this and that, and they don't give a shit about stuff, and they're loving. They hug, and so. I'm very, very lucky. Cool. I've got an amazing kid, but I got a really, really strong wife.
Okay.
My wife is strong. She's tough, and she's probably 80% of the reason why the kids are so good.
You said you met her at a convention center?
I met her at a convention center.
What was your opening line?
Oh,
were you smooth or were you not?
Dude, I'm the furthest thing from smooth, okay? I'm the guy that claps in between everybody else at the concert.
Oh, my gosh.
When the whole crowd's moving left, I'm moving right, okay? I am such a klutz. So I met Leslie at McCormick Place, My friends have a beef jerky business that's called Jack Link's Beef Jerky. It's the biggest beef jerky company in the world now. And so they were I was living in Chicago. I had Bulls tickets. Michael Jordan was playing for the Bulls.
No way.
I swear.
Gosh.
And so I was going to get my friend Jay Link from his booth and take him to the Bulls game. And he said, there's a girl who's working at the Wells Blue Bunny ice cream booth. He said, I went to college with her and I want to take her to the game. And he said, and she's kind of, she didn't dig me before I had, was part of Jack Link's Jerky, which is a family business. He said, now she's kind of digging me. So, maybe she's got a friend. I said, okay, we'll go over there. So Leslie was the friend.
Okay.
So we met. Leslie says, just so you know, I have a man and let's go to the game.
Yeah.
So at the stadium in Chicago, you could get a Mai Tai, and for an extra couple bucks, you could get an extra floater of Myers rum.
Oh boy!
So by the second one, I got a tap on the knee. So then I knew.
Dog.
You were in.
I had a shot.
You were
Jimmy
in.
Dog.
And anyway, we fell in love, and she moved to Chicago a month later. She brought her son, and her parents were so freaked out. They called me that guy. And then I asked her to move in with me, and she wouldn't do it. And she got her own apartment. She got a job at WLS Radio in Chicago, and I put her son Spencer into a preschool, and then we ended up we got engaged a year later, and
That's cool.
pregnant with Lucy, and I adopted Spencer, and look, our life has been all the ups and downs. We have seen all the shit that anybody would see in their life, and here we are today. So
amazing.
That's how we met. We met at McCormick Place and fell in love, and today we're more in love than we've ever been.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Let me ask you this, and this is a little off the wall.
Yeah.
Tipping culture.
Yeah.
When it comes to tipping at restaurants, what do you think about it?
Okay, here's my deal on tipping.
Give it to me.
I tip servers bonkers.
Okay, that's
I
good.
love
That's
that.
me.
That's
Yeah.
epic.
I tip if I've got a $500 bill, but remember I'm rich.
Right.
I'll tip $200, $300, $400, $500. I mean, I always try to exceed expectations. I see how hard. I know what these kids come through. I know what they're doing. I know how they make their living. I'm a massive tipper. As far as the iPads go, you know what? It is what it is. If you get it put in front of you and you're on the spot, it's like, really tip 18, 23, or 35%?
Yeah.
There's not even a 10 there?
No.
Like, can I just give you $1 for a cup of coffee?
Insane.
Right.
It's but I'll tell you what, it's the new world, and money's electric, like if you had to pull the bill out of your pocket, it's a lot harder,
Yeah.
like here's your bill, here's your money, here's your change. The worst is when they want to give you $8 back in change, they give you 8 singles when you're at the bar. You're like, dude, just give me the 5. You can keep the $3. But who am I to say about it's the culture today?
Yeah.
It is.
It is what it is.
It's true.
And it's a hustle. And anybody that's it is what it is. And but I mean, when you're at Bridgestone and you're getting an $18 pretzel
Right.
and $12 M&Ms, that's $32. What are you gonna tip? 18%?
Yeah, it's like $6.
They leaned back and just grabbed it off the shelf and handed it to you.
It's
Come on.
absurd.
I don't
And
know.
everything's shrinking, right? The shrinking burger and the shrinking everything is shrinking and getting smaller. So.
Exactly.
But I don't know. This inflation thing it's real and it's here.
Where do you think it's going, and what drives you crazy about America today? Like, what's your biggest pet peeve?
You know what? I don't. I'm not going there because I think that if you get down and out, I spent a lot of years there, and I spent a lot of years angry, and it's not worth it. I think there's so much positive happening. It's that focus on the good stuff.
Yeah.
There is all kinds of good stuff all around you. Your neighbors are good. I'm not going there. What I would prefer is if we were all held to the same rules and we all played with the same rule book. I would prefer that. Okay? But you know what? I would also prefer that every wildebeest got across the river too.
Yeah.
You know, I would, you know, I don't like this. I don't like, I love the Constitution. If you want to change the law, the Constitution is designed to change laws. You debate it, you vote on it, you legislate it, you implement it if it's voted on, and then you police the laws. I don't like selective honesty. I don't like the way my mother came to Ellis Island and the way that the border is open. Okay? It's not that I don't like or want people to be here, but I don't, you know, for us to have 7.5 million people come into America in the last 3 years, and all these families now come onto our health care, and I have my original Jimmy John's employee, Clint Joesting, is 55 years old. He's been waiting for a colonoscopy right now for 4 months. And with this new medicine today, and the way where we just, everything's, you know, used to be you called your doctor, you got it right now, and you got, you know, I don't like to see a guy that worked with me for 35 years and retired, and he became a millionaire because of the stock that I gave to my team, was one of the recipients of it. You know, for him to have to wait that long to have a colonoscopy, and we got all these other people coming into America, dropping babies off at our hospitals and not getting a bill. And ERs are being used as doctor offices. We're paying those. You're paying it, I'm paying it. You want to keep paying that? You like paying these $32 for M&Ms and okay? You like that? Well, this is what happens when you print money, and you print money, and you print money, and there's so, you know, eventually you guys are going to pay the price for what's going on right now. So do you like it?
I don't like paying $32 for M&Ms.
And do you like open borders?
Not really.
Yeah,
No.
It's not cool.
No.
It's also not cool for people to go smash and grab, and you can
True.
steal $1,000 worth of stuff in
crazy.
California
True.
and not get busted.
Nuts.
So 300 people come in and steal $1,000 worth of stuff, and the store lost 300. You know.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
but you asked me what gets me mad. I was trying to be so damn
Alex
nice.
is trying to reel
But,
you in there.
Thanks for. I'll reel myself, and I apologize for that. But
No.
I just think that, damn it, let's just get it right, and let's all lock arms and get it right together,
Yeah.
and let's all forgive each other for all of our bullshit, because we all have it.
Yeah. Yep.
We're all full of shit in somewhere or another.
True.
And
I love it. Jimmy, have you ever been to your high school reunion?
yes,
How did that go? Did you see any of your bullies?
yeah.
What did it
How
say?
was that moment? Was it weird?
It's, no shit. It was so long ago. You got to remember how old I am. You know. First of all, that stuff is so petty.
Yeah.
Right? It's so petty, but at the time, it's so traumatic.
Yeah.
Great. How was it seeing him? Great.
Yeah.
Great. How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah.
I had one guy. It wasn't a reunion, but I'm from Cary, Illinois, and I went to the Tracks, which is the pub in Cary. And I was clearly the most successful kid that came out of Cary. And I was probably 27 or 28. And I saw the biggest bully that I had. And I walked into the bar, the Tracks. I said, "Hey, Mike." And he says, "Hey, Jimmy." He says, "You're still fat." And I said, "Yeah, Mike, I'm still fat." And for the fact that I remember that now, I remember that now. But you know what? He probably, imagine how shitty his life had to have been for him to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
At that point in time, too.
At that point in time, you know?
Yeah.
That
Sad.
poor guy.
Yeah. It's
So,
sad.
but you know what? It's fine. And I'm actually still close with some high school guys.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I'll see him this weekend at my birthday party.
Oh, that's great.
Nice. All right. Should we wrap up with some freaky fast to-go questions?
We could.
Let's do it. Are you down? We're just rapid fire. All right. First question for you is, what kind of cologne do you wear? I've been on a little fragrance journey lately, and I need some wisdom.
Level 2000 soap. That's it.
Level 2000 soap.
No cologne.
Oh. Really?
No cologne. No.
Any reason?
Yeah, man. I don't. When you're in the restaurant business,
True.
you can't go squirting cologne on yourself and then making sandwiches and having the bread taste like Elon Musk or Calvin Klein or whatever the shit is that you guys wear.
Dang it! If Elon made a cologne, that would be insane. That could be kind of crazy.
That'd be psychedelic.
It
for
would
sure.
be.
Yeah.
It really would.
Yeah, no cologne for JJ. None. Zero. Don't allow it on my planes and boats either.
That's
Really?
funny.
Yeah, you get a memo before you're gonna board.
No way.
Yeah, well, you get plenty of time. Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Why is that? Just for?
Because if you put a pine tree in an airplane and fly around with it for 4 hours, when you land, guess what your plane smells like?
Pine tree.
A pine tree.
It's fair.
Yeah, I had Bob Kidrock on my plane one time, and we flew from somewhere to Alabama, and he had a cigar. The cigar stayed, and I let him have it. We were having a good time, but the cigar stays for a while. So yeah, pine trees smell like pine trees.
That's fair.
You know what? I just don't want to smell
Yeah.
all kinds of different smells.
Fair
No,
enough.
makes sense.
Biggest casino bet you've made, and did it pay off? And what game was it?
Oh gosh. God, I'm not a big gambler, guys,
Okay.
but that is such a great question. You know what? I'm not a big enough gambler to have this be exciting for the audience. I wish it was. I mean, I've had 5,000 down before and split aces, and had to have 10,000 down, and
Goodness.
and I've won them and lost them, and I would say that I've lost them more than I've won them. That's why the casinos have casinos. So, but that's really about it for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big gambler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever made a Chicago-style hot dog using Jimmy John's bread?
No, not a Chicago hot dog.
Really? That
No,
could
but
be
I've made
good.
Italian beef. I've made
Okay.
Italian sausage on it for sure.
Ooh, yum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Jared from Subway is wreaking havoc across America. He's like Thanos from Avengers. You can assemble a team of any kind of figurehead or mascot of a food company, Papa John, Wendy's, whoever, to be your team of Avengers to go fight him. Who are you assembling on that team and why?
Oh my God.
You're gonna be like, you're Iron Man, you're Jimmy John leading the charge, or you can be You're Captain America. Actually,
Yeah,
you're Captain America.
I'll take Brock Lesnar, Zach Brown, and Kid Rock to go kick anybody's ass on the planet.
What a team. What would be your theme song?
I don't know.
Good answer. Hey, if I saw you four in an alley, I'd be like, who are these guys?
right?
I'm running.
I'll tell you what, all three of those guys are fighting fools.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
Okay, if you had to go back and relive one day in the prime of Jimmy John's or any moment, and your kids could be there with you, what moment would you choose?
You know, the first big award I got was MUFSO, Multi-Unit Food Service Operator of the Year. And my kids were babies. It would have been great to have them there. You know, we won the NASCAR championship with my NASCAR team in 2014. It would have been great to have them there, but they were babies. They were young. They were 12 and 13, and they weren't old enough. But the real major stuff, they've been with me. I got the Horatio Alger Award in Washington, D.C., and got to go to the Supreme Court and have a medal put around my
Sweet.
neck by Clarence Thomas, Judge Clarence Thomas.
No
And
way.
It was a real honor, and I'm standing on stage with Reba McEntire and Rob Lowe and
Wow.
Roger Penske and Oprah. And I mean, there were 10 recipients of the Horatio Alger Award that year, and my kids were all there, and my wife was there. But gosh, just one of the first awards. I remember I won a Cranes magazine in Chicago, 40 under 40. I was a Chicago winner of that award. But they were babies then too. I'm not good at this stuff. I wish I.
Those are all great answers, though. You gave me like 4.
I gave you 4.
yeah.
Okay, all
You
right.
answered
if you
it.
got enough. I'm trying to bang this with you. If you want to go fast. I
No,
I
you're
wish
doing
I was
great.
better at it.
You're
Go ahead.
fine.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my gosh. Oh, John Prine. It's a John Prine song. It's a John Prine song. Hold on.
I don't think I've ever
In
heard
spite of ourselves by John Prine, and I do it with my wife.
Oh,
I'll have to go listen to that. I don't think I
know.
know that song.
Maybe that we could use that song in this episode.
That could be our intro or something
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can, in spite of ourselves, you can. I do that with Leslie, and we crush it.
Nice.
Crush that song.
Jimmy, I gotta know. I did see that you have a 50 car collection. Which is your favorite car that you have?
Right now, my favorite car that I have is called a Roof CTR. And it's built by Alois Roof in Pfaffenheisen, Germany.
Ooh.
And it's a family. The Roof family grew up with the Porsche family. They're right next door to each other.
Whoa.
And they grew up as best buds their whole life. So they make Porsches. They have some sort of an arrangement. I don't know what it is that Porsche allows them to build identical cars, but really, really well. And so they're all analog. They're not digital.
Whoa.
And the new cars today are getting very, very digital. And this is an 800 horsepower rear-wheel drive Porsche that is bonkers. It is bonkers. And that
so
right
fun.
now is my favorite car to just bust on.
Gosh, that's so fun.
That's sick. That's sick. This is a really stupid question that I wrote last night, so
Okay.
bear with me. You have 17 sub-names on the menu of Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
If you could make and produce one movie with the title of the movie being one of the names of your subs, which sub are you choosing to name your movie after, and what is the movie going to be about?
Jesus Christ. That's hard.
You could say the Ultimate Porker could be interesting.
I'll do the veto and have it be
Yes.
like The Godfather.
I like that.
Okay.
And that's greatest movie of all time, right? The Godfather.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah.
So
What a great movie.
How'd you find your salami anyway? I love the salami at Jimmy John's.
So originally we started buying it from Corando, and then we switched to Hormel, and then I created my own formula. Yeah, and had somebody
Whoa.
make it for me.
Sick.
What's even the process like to create your own salami?
It's very, very easy.
Really?
Very easy. Yeah, you take cuts of pork front shoulder and pork butt, which is the pork shoulder is they actually call it a butt. Believe it or not, they call a pork shoulder a butt, and the pork ass is the ham. So you take a blend of the shoulder and the rear rump and grind it. Add a bunch of fat, flavor it with seasoning, and you hang it in a drying room for about 30 days. And the drying room's about 130 degrees, and it just dries and cures with the salts, and that's what you do. And what happened when you remember when nitrates got to be really bad and it became unhealthy, and they said lunch meats aren't good for you. We figured out that if you took celery root and ground it and processed your meats with celery root powder, that acted as a natural nitrate. So we went through that evolution. So it's really easy to do.
Really?
It's really easy. Yeah. It's a piece of cake.
Let's make some salami.
We should do it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's
Really,
funny.
really good salami takes a lot better cuts and a lot more time and natural casing, but I didn't do that.
Okay.
I used man-made.
So you're a big hunter, right?
Yeah.
What's the best hunting experience you've been on so far?
You know what? I'm a sheep hunter predominantly, although I've taken the Africa Big Five, but I'm really I like hunting sheep. I've been on over 70 sheep hunts. I've been in Mongolia, all the stands, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, all over the world chasing mountain sheep. And I was there's a white sheep in America called the Dall sheep in North America, and they live in different places. And there was a permit that I bought that was on an Indian reservation, and they auctioned off one permit a year, and they used that money to enhance the habitat of the wildlife in this Indian reservation. And there's a mountain in the Yukon called Arch Peak, and this was about 5 years ago. And we started the climb at 7 o'clock in the morning. We got to the base of the mountain at 7 in the morning, and it was just getting light. And we climbed to the top of Arch Peak, and I got to my ram at 1:30 in the morning.
Goodness.
So I climbed from 7, and this is where it's light 24
Whoa.
hours a day because you're so far north. So I got to that sheep at 1:30 in the morning, and it was still light out, and I was able to harvest the sheep at 1:30 in the morning from the top of the mountain. And then a snowstorm came, and we set up our tents. We butchered and packed up all the meat, got the skin, did the work. We camped out. We woke up. Our tents were well, about 18 inches of snow on the tents, and we packed up all of our stuff. And then we came up the one side, and the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So we said, you know, we're going to go straight down this. So I went down and went down that hill. First of all, climbing this mountain, and you can look it up after this. It was the toughest climb I've ever been. When we're done, I'll show you a couple pictures of that on my phone. I have them under my favorite memories. And when I got down off that mountain the next day and finally got back to the trucks and finally got all of our shit off and our wet stuff, I had walked off both of my big toenails, had fallen off my you know, from and it was brutal, it was hard, but I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And the ram ended up being 13 and a half years old. They lived to be 12. He was at the end of his life, and it was a beautiful ram. I can't wait to show you a picture. But that for me was the most memorable, challenging, amazing. I mean, we got back to camp and we cooked those ribs from that sheep over the fire. Those are the best ribs I ever had.
So fresh.
Ever. And so that was it. I wish it was more exciting for you, but it was the
that sounds
we call
amazing.
them the Arch Peak Ram, and I'll show you a picture.
Yeah, I'd love to see. Doesn't it just feel so good to do something physically hard? Like, we trained for a marathon last year and ran one. And it's just so, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it
when
just
you're done, you
lights
feel
you up.
so accomplished.
What marathon did you guys run?
We did the
Ventura.
Yeah, Ventura out in California. So you kind of start in Ojai and then end right on the beach. Incredible.
So how long is it? 25 miles?
26.2.
And you guys did that?
Yeah,
did it.
we had a little squad of people.
Okay, right on.
It was
was
so
insane.
fun.
I don't know that I'll walk the marathon. That's amazing. You
Hey,
guys
that's
did
fun.
that.
Yeah, we
Good
trained
for
for like
you.
4 months.
Yeah, I think
It was
so.
hard, but looking back, it's like we kind of missed.
But
the
same,
pain.
like the toenails come off, like, you know,
Yep.
different sport, same result.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
It feels so good.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah,
it does.
feel good. So yeah, thanks for asking me about the hunting.
Yeah.
It's great. I had an interesting one. I went to Latvia this winter, and I hunted red stag in Latvia.
Wait, what's red stag? I don't know
It's
what that
it's
is.
like an elk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I hunted in Latvia, and you hunt them at night, and you find them with they come into these fields, and that's how they hunt them. They hunt them at night, and so I never hunted at night before, so that was interesting. And you use they have all these lenses and all these setups to do it. It's just like it's normal for them.
Yeah,
that's what they do, and then they do it for food. They don't do it for anything else but food, and yeah, it was interesting.
I saw a video one time. My dad showed me this. It's like you can hog hunt from a helicopter. Have you ever done that?
I haven't hog hunt, but I hunted. You know what I have in New Zealand? I hunted wild pigs from a helicopter.
What?
Yeah, I did in New
Is
Zealand.
it hard?
I hunted wallabies, which are little.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
then I did there was, you know what a cull means when they have to cull a herd? You have to cull a herd of animals when the herd exceeds the ground's ability to sustain its food consumption. So I went on a cull hunt for blue wildebeest in South Africa. And they said, "Would you like to come along?" So I went along, and for me, after a while, it's a little gruesome to me. But it's just me. You know what? It had to be done. It's got to be done. So, but I did that. So I actually have done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Amazing.
We're building a CEO bookshelf. Everyone we interview, we ask them for one book that they would recommend to go on our bookshelf for our listeners.
Yeah.
Is there a book that you would like to add to our CEO bookshelf?
1,000% The 1 Minute Manager.
Okay.
Absolutely. Ken Blanchard's The New 1 Minute Manager is. And you want to learn how to manage people, that is the greatest. That book changed my life. That book is incredible. I have 2 more, but you asked for 1, and that's it.
Okay.
And last but not least, who is one CEO you'd want to have lunch with that you never have?
Lindsay Snyder, In and Out.
Oh, she's a dream guest of ours too. If we ever have her on, we'll invite you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we know that you never got a college degree, correct? And I know you already had a sub, but I do want to give you this. Open it up. Could be new to the menu. I don't know.
In this package is a rolled up, what appears to be a diploma, and a loaf of Jimmy John's bread. As I open it up, that's interesting.
Unfurl that baby.
I'm doing it right now live. Here we go. Bachelor of Science in Breadology. We hereby confer Jimmy John Liautaud with this degree for the completion of his grit, 18-hour days, and the economic growth of Champaign, Illinois. Jade and Alex, CEO of The Lunch Break. You guys, thanks a lot.
Jimmy,
That's so
coming
sweet and thoughtful. And, I struggled with that town, so it just means the world to me that you did this. I'm going to frame this and put this in my office. It means more to me than a degree of bread. It's it's an honor to be here and to talk about my life. It's great to be introspective and to just think about it. And I wish I was more naturally entertaining, but I'm not.
Shut
Jimmy,
up.
get out of here with that negative self-talk. We're not about that here. You've been incredible. I think our listeners will think this interview went a little too freaky fast. That's how I feel.
I think so.
But we're thankful to have a absolute American legend on our podcast, the CEO Lunch Break, and I hope you had a great time. I really do.
Couldn't thank you anymore. Really appreciate it.
You're a very kind couple, very nice people. It's really nice to meet you, and thanks for having me here and letting me talk about myself for a couple hours. It really made me think. You guys made me think, really, really think, and typically you can give honest answers or what happened to me or make it up for entertainment purposes, but you guys got pure fact from me, and that's what happened to me.
Well,
so
thank you.
You like it or don't like it, it is what it is. So thanks for having me, guys.
I do have one final question.
Yeah.
Who is a friend of yours that's a CEO that you think would enjoy this conversation, that would want to be maybe on our podcast?
I could help you with lots of CEOs to be on your podcast. Who's the CEO? There is a woman that runs a company called Kuiu Outdoor Gear, Kuiu. Her name is Melissa. This woman is one of the most baller women that I've ever met. I'm gonna even take the word woman out of there. One of the most baller CEOs that I've ever met in my entire life. You ask me about a baller. This woman has taken this company and blown it up and built it, and she works it and she grinds it and she crushes it. And she is so cool. She is so enthusiastic, and she will be here for the Safari Club convention that's going to be in Nashville in February, in early February. She's going to be here because her booth is going to be at our convention center here in Nashville.
Oh, cool.
This woman, Melissa, if you got her, she's super modest and humble.
Okay.
Let her hear what I just said.
Okay.
And I will help you get Melissa.
That's awesome.
Melissa's the most baller CEO I know today, right now.
Cool.
Amazing. Well, we appreciate it.
I know. What a time.
Thanks, Jimmy John.
Thank you.
My pleasure, guys.